My name is Paul Nunes-Dier. I'm a certified professional facilitator from the IAF, which stands for International Association of Facilitators. Since 2018, I've started a book series on architecting collaboration, and my latest book, in co-authorship with Martin Duffy and other renowned digital facilitators and guest co-authors, is titled Beyond Virtual Meetings. It's all about the importance of the digital tools that can extend and augment the power of you as a facilitator and a meeting host in virtual online meetings, but also on the hybrid meetings that are going to be so much needed in this post-pandemic era. Along with my co-author Martin Duffy and esteemed PhD colleague, we host Talk to Your Meeting Doctors, a series of hosted conversations with meeting experts that can advise you about how to transition to this new normal and take advantage of this incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make the organization of your meetings more sustainable and effective. Please stand by as the next show will start momentarily.
Thank you so much, dear viewers, for following us today in another episode of Talk to Your Meeting Doctors. This is the 56th episode in a series spanning from 4 years. Good to be here with Martin Duffy, my co-host. Martin?
Yeah, good to be back, Paul. Always nice to catch up and have a new guest with us today.
Yes, and it's really a pleasure to have Mike Rossius here with us. Mike is a distinguished facilitator from the IAF, IAF member. He's also a member of the special interest group on AI and group facilitation. We both share our membership in that special interest group since almost a year now, Mike.
Yes.
And it's great to have Mike here with us, inspired by an interesting LinkedIn post that Mike just shared a few weeks ago that was hit by so many engagements that we decided to invite Mike to discuss a little bit more about what's facilitation all about and the perspective generated by Mike.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here. And I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Mike, we normally start off, this is not intended to be a curveball question. It's just, we have the same opening question that we put to all of our guests. Is there anything about you personally that people generally wouldn't be familiar with, but that you will be happy to share with us? Just anything from your past or your present, or maybe even about your future that you would like to share with us?
Well, yes, certainly. And it's important for me. I've been thinking about it throughout my career. I'm a terrible introvert. And as many other facilitators whom I've met, I mean, I was comparing myself and I was thinking, well, can a facilitator, well, be good if he or she is an introvert? And well, over years, I've developed a belief that we're getting better in things that we really have to improve. We want to improve and we practice. So I believe that everything can be built to become better. I can become better in my skills of entertaining people by drawing, visualizing, talking, being more impressive, and streamlining more energy. So this is what I've been doing for years. I've been practicing in that, and I hope I was getting better. But the thing that you really need to do is to practice. You need to get any chance that you have to practice your skills and be closer to people. Many years ago, on one of the facilitators conferences, I asked Michael Wilkinson what is the most important skill for a facilitator, and he said that the most important skill is to love people. So I believe that this is very true. You need to be loving those people, the groups that you work with, believing in them, trusting them to have the ideas and the opinions, and to be able to build and become better and make change happen. And this is important for me.
Absolutely, Mike. And it's interesting, Martin, because Michael Wilkinson was already in our show in the past.
Yeah.
It was a great honor to have Mike. But let me just share with you the posts that started this conversation invitation. First of all, Martin, you remember this, right?
Yeah.
Yes, because it struck me a lot in this conversation that is shared here. I leave it here shared so our viewers can also read this and process the reading while we are talking here. But I'm kind of curious, Mike, was this made by you? Did you have any design assistant? Because it's a perfect diagram. It says so many important lessons here.
Well, yes, it is mine, and it's a summary of my knowledge of how I build sessions, the way how I see it when I'm creating this scenario of a session. So I think that everything should be held over to the group. And the most important thing, as I believe, the most important thing that facilitators do, they create motivation. They build motivation that helps change happen. And to build it, we all know that there is one fundamental rule of motivation. People do willingly things that they've come up with themselves. I don't want to go and work on somebody else's idea, but if I have my own idea, I am very willing to go and spend hours and do things. And this is how the world, how the world is made. And this understanding helps us create good scenarios for facilitated sessions. So we help our groups realize what they really want. Then we help them see that the topic that we're coming to discuss, the issue, the problem, the maybe some request for idea generation is relevant. And then we go through it, and in the end we come to some state when we come up with actions and we think about what should be done. And then after it, I mean, how can we as facilitators be sure that our groups will go and start doing something? We don't have any power over them after the session have ended. So the only thing that we can do to ensure it, we can support the process of them feeling that the decision is really owned by them. And after that, this law of motivation starts working. People who have understood that the actions are designed by themselves, they are willing to go and start working on them.
Absolutely. I'm sure, Martin, you will have lots of questions figured, but let me just throw this for a starter, if I may.
Sure.
When you say, Mike, reflect on your interests, bring them to consciousness as a facilitator, right? I was struck by that because it's really important that the facilitator is the instrument, right, in terms of enhancing the group for this ownership that you so brilliantly illustrate here. Now the issue is mine, now the process is mine, now the decisions are mine, and now the actions are mine, right? So that's actually what the facilitator as a tool, as an instrument, so to say, a good facilitator accomplishes, right? But when you say reflect on your interests, bring them to consciousness, my question is that could be really a facilitator that is truly neutral, impartial to the outcomes. That's the challenge question I pose in the start, and I give the the floor to you and Martin.
Yeah, it's that concept of impartiality as a facilitator. Any thoughts on that, Mike? That's kind of an interesting one, isn't it?
Well, so just to clarify, I think that we all are on the same basis here, but just to be sure and for everybody else's sake, what is meant here is that we want to work with people who have some passion, some interest. We don't want to work with impartial team members who just came in the middle of their work. They're busy. They have their own processes that they've been running before. They're still in those processes. They are continue working on them. They try to get into their phones, into their computers, check their emails. We want to switch them, and we want to drag them into the process that we bring with us, that we suggest. We want to make them feel some interest, and for that, we invite them to try to reflect on it, to try to bring it up, and to see where it is. So in a way, the initial understanding here is that when we will have those interests, we will be able then to make some rotation and group dynamic to make people share them and understand where they are, and then find some common language. It's very difficult to try and find some consensus or something else without expressed interest, right? So if I agree to anything, then most probably in the end, after the process will end, I will not be committed to those agreements because, I didn't invest anything in the beginning. Yeah. So here we want to ask you in the very beginning, what do you invest? What is your interest? What are you going to invest? And then over the process, we will see if you will stay with it, if you will be able to invest it, or if you will have, I don't know, to sacrifice it and do something else. That often happens. So people want to do as less as possible, but through the session they get inspired and they take some commitments and they do much more than they were going to do in the very beginning.
One of the things that struck me about that graphic was to bring to consciousness, bringing interest to consciousness. And if I invert that, the implication from that might be that people are at a session where they have interests, but they are not either conscious of those interests themselves, or they willfully or deliberately withhold those interests from the rest of the group. Now, they are two very different ideas and concepts. Could I ask you, Mike, to maybe pick up either or both of those? Am I drawing a correct inference from that point about bringing to consciousness?
You do. So in my understanding, the work of a facilitator is not necessarily like the work of a doctor, of a surgeon who just knows that there is something and keeps poking until it will come out. What we can do, we answer questions, and we don't know what the answers will be. So we can invite people to do something, to reflect on something, but of course we cannot predict what it will be. So it can be an interest that a person was just not thinking about, and not even considering that it can be an interest. So I'm not considering about improving the way of something, of my lunch. So I'm not even considering the possibility that my lunch can be improved. You suddenly ask me a question. So if there could be an improvement to your lunch, what would it be? This way you start my process of thinking. You make me start coming and realizing what my interest is, because of course my response will be based on my interests. So here I don't know, asking this question, I don't know what it will be, whether people will, whether I hope that they will just come up with those interests and start believing in them, or whether they have them but they didn't want to share them with others, and this question might invite them to do it.
So the idea then of process, do you have a particular process that you try to follow in order to extract those interests out of the individual, or to bring them to light within the collective group? What kind of process ideas do you pursue for that?
As usual, so we establish environment where people feel that they are invited to share, and where those in just the environment in which having interests is allowed, because this is often also not the case. And there is no universal path, no universal approach, because I mean, I work as an external facilitator. I work mostly every time with a new group. So I don't know what is the internal culture of the group. I don't know what do they do, and maybe they are open on a level that much exceeds even my expectations. So that also happens. There is never a process that is preset. You just have to understand what it is and try to move the group to be more synchronized. As usual, we always also operate on understanding that people are different. So even if you understand the environment, you still cannot understand all the people. So my, so to say, preset is to try and just get everything that will appeal to any interest, any way of perceiving things, any way how people approach information. For example, yes, you can, if you think that you're in a culture where people are more accustomed to be just sitting at a round table, you get them out of there. You get them out of the table. You make them move around. You make them do some fun stuff. You make them feel that something is different today. You bring them into into some different environment, and you invite their new culture of sharing. As soon as you have established that, as soon as you have established that there is the possibility of people having diverse interests, then you can start asking and inviting them to express these interests. You can feel more open. So as any facilitation process, we are always time bound. We cannot do whatever we want to do. We have to carefully estimate the time and the value that we get out of it. And this also can become a nice way to measure what you can and what you cannot do. Sometimes you just don't have the time for establishing the proper mood, and you just come up and you ask this question and you hope that it will work.
Yeah, you touched on an interesting point there in kind of inferring that you take people out of their habitual environment. So during the facilitated discussion or session, that we're taking them out of their habitual environment. We're trying to get them into a safe space as facilitators. We're trying to build confidence that they can express these interests that they have. But does that raise a question about the bridge from the previous space? So again, I'm just imagining a work group who have habitual routines, practices, culture, and so on. We get them into a facilitated space, workshop for a day or a half day or 2 days or whatever. We build this environment that's accommodating, that's stimulating, that's kind of, it's safe. It allows them to express these interests. But that bridge from the then to the now, and then more particularly back into the future space that was probably the same as where they came from, does the process take account of those bridges, the transition from the old into the present facilitated, and then back into the workplace to carry forward whatever action list we come up with?
Of course. No, Martin, this shows how much of a professional you are, this question, because it always needs to be considered, and we try to, well, we try to not only to bring those bridges, but to understand and become aware of those that already exist. So if we come on a session, first of all, if I am new to the people, this already is something, this is some changed environment, and then it needs to be bridged, and there needs to be an explanation. How did I appear, and what is the reason for my appearance, and the reason why I was chosen? Then there often is the situation when somebody, a team leader or senior manager or company CEO, has the first word, and then invites everybody to participate fully, or puts some objective and says that this is what we're trying to achieve, this is the ultimate goal, and this is what you're invited to do. This is the whole big process of introduction to a facilitated session. So understanding bringing in the different culture is just one of the steps of it. We also need to agree with our participants that something is going to happen, that it is possible that this will happen, so everybody understands that, agrees and commits to the idea that yes, in those 2 days we have session for 2 days, we believe that something can happen, that this time will not be wasted, right? We can commit to work if we really believe that this is enough time, and this space is enough, and that we have brought people that are competent to do it. We agree with people what level of decision they have. So what will happen with those things that they will decide in the very end? Will it change significantly something above their level, or will it go somewhere beyond, and then somebody else will be taking decisions basing on those recommendations? So then these are recommendations. So all these things are essential, but also what is essential is whether people have experienced it before, or whether you are the first person who have just, in their experience, who have brought all that. So again, as I said before, I work primarily as external facilitator. My advantage here, my big strength, is that I can elevate an event, and by this make it memorable, make it stick, and make change happen. To elevate the event, I just do things differently. I try to understand what is the culture of running meetings, and then I just do it differently. So I bring different elements. I might bring more visuals, I might bring more digital, I might bring music and outdoor activities. So there are very many things that help to elevate the event and to make everything different. Your activities don't only serve the purpose of the meeting, of the session itself, but they also make a change, and because of it also there comes some consideration, maybe on a very basic level. Look, the company had brought this guy, he must be expensive, and they put us in the hotel that must be expensive. They really expect us to do something, we will commit. So there are very many different levels of many different things going on here, and so I cannot possibly even perceive all that, but I just try my best to help this happen.
Yeah, it's that from our discussion so far, we've discussed aspects of relatively conventional facilitation. But at the very outset, you mentioned that your particular passion at the moment is integrating AI with facilitated sessions or events or meetings. can you give us a little insight? So if we take the conventional platform of facilitation, but where I think you're different, a little bit different, is the interest-based aspect of it. And we might swing back to that a little bit later. But can you tell us a little bit then about your passion for integrating AI with facilitation and give us a sense of how that might actually operate in practice?
My particular interest is preserving my capacity and capability of being a good facilitator in the time when participants have AI, and AI participates in a session and brings new content, brings ideas, and brings lots and lots of information. So of course, I do work with AI myself, but my professional interest is to understand how can I handle AI in the room. I actually even for the recent conference, I came up with this thing that I think is sounds nice. That instead of herding cats, you now become an AI wrangler, somebody who handles the raw power that is in the room, because you need to understand how to work with it. I've been present to situations when good facilitators, strong facilitators running a session and hearing a voice of AI, just try to, well, what would be your gut reaction to it? Just to run and try to shut it up, because this is some new artificial voice participating and bringing some new ideas, and you can barely handle what you already have. So I, by nature of my work, I work a lot with people online and with people from IT. So for them, it's very natural to come and bring different content generated by AI. How much does this disrupt the session? What can we do to help our session go on? And what can we do to handle this raw power? So then I came up with a set of guidelines. What can we do, and what stages of process, what works? I've been working with digital platforms where AI is incorporated. Just you get it there by a click of a button. You can load more and more content. And working with it, I saw that the level of involvement of participants just goes down. People get overwhelmed by all this content, and you start feeling the value of it if a machine can generate more and more and more ideas, actually more that you can read, and they all sound good. They all sound nice ideas. It's frustrating. So the time boundaries, they just go away. You don't understand when this will end. You don't understand the whole scope of it. It's not only our group coming with ideas, but there's such big wealth of it. We cannot even comprehend all that. So this is really frustrating. This disrupts work. And this is what concerns me, and this is what I'm trying to find solutions to.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's another that concept actually of sheer volume. So, if we take a classic setting of 8 people or 6 people, 8 people, 10 people, and there's a known quantum of what you can get out of those people within a particular period of time. And, as facilitators, we'll typically manage that through time breakdown of our sessions, and that we'll try to avoid overload by limiting to 20 minutes of this or 30 minutes of that, or so we have a way to break up the sessions. But it's a really interesting point that AI doesn't have a time limit. It doesn't have an off switch per se, unless somebody pushes it, and it can just keep on producing volume. But here's my question. Volume is one thing, and we can get participants like that. We can get participants in meetings where they just transmit. And as facilitators, we have to manage that. But the emotion in the room is very often the predominant thing that we have to try and manage as facilitators. But AI doesn't have emotion. AI just does volume. It transmits. And my question then is, how do we integrate emotionless volume from AI as a participant with emotion-filled and, I dare I say, more considered content from the human participants? Have we got a dichotomy going on here between the two types of participants?
I would agree, but don't you think that it's just a stage, and AI will be able to bring more and more emotion if AI will see that there is a request for it? If we're talking about emotional attachment, yes. So of course, there is zero emotional attachment to those ideas that are generated by AI. This is absolutely true. And you see that people tend to respect opinions of others in the group, but they will not respect the opinion of AI. They are very eager and ready to dismiss AI ideas, even if they're, well, I mean, they sound like good quality ideas, but they can be easily dismissed because there is no emotional attachment. But AI, well, we already know that AI can be very emotional whenever you interact with your chat. It always tries to support you, and it always tries to find language that will speak to you personally. This is why we live in the age where people just tend to use already therapists. AI as a therapist, so my AI as my personal therapist. So this, I think this is the nearest future when there will be emotion. But as for the another comment on what you said, as for the participants that come up with lots of ideas, this is easily manageable because we want them to, well, we want to capture all the ideas. So as soon as you delegate to a participant capturing of those ideas, this already is bounding. So this is the first sort of a funnel. So participant will be putting on paper or writing digitally those ideas that are worth it. There is no such boundary with AI. Everything just comes in seconds. It all is already on the screen. It all is text that you can copy and paste. And again, so it's very difficult to handle that, because then you can ask AI to bring it to a more compact form, and then suddenly you see that more content, more new ideas are appearing, and then you go through your process of selecting and choosing best ideas, and then suddenly more new ideas come up on top. So this is also really difficult. But essentially, my belief is that nowadays, I mean, I believed in it for about 10 years already, that when you work with a group, most probably people already have good ideas. It's not about generating them, it's about allowing people to voice them out, hoping that those ideas will be heard. And then the work of a facilitator is to arrange the way how people will share those ideas. So because if I have an idea of my own, I'm not very keen to listen to your idea. I already have mine. I have my solution. Why should I listen to yours? This is the work of a facilitator. Arrange the process in which I will be forced to go to you and listen to your idea. Or even better, if the request will be to me to go to you and not only listen to your idea, but just capture the essence of it. Or maybe try to see there could be an instruction: go around the room and write down 3 of the best things that you hear. Just build your own collection of stuff. This is an amazing technique, and it works really, really well, just as the thing that forces people to listen to others. So I parked my idea, and now I went around, and you made me listen to the ideas of others, and suddenly I understood that there is good sense in them. They also are good ideas, not only my ideas, good and great. And suddenly all this also gets disrupted, because well, you won't be going reading those tons and tons of AI generated things and just them sharing them with others. Oh, I picked this one, I think it's good. So there is no emotional attachment. And we risk that in the very end, there will be no ownership of the final actions and people will not go and implement them.
Yeah, but it's interesting, Martin. Sorry if I may challenge
Sure,
you
Paul,
for a
absolutely.
moment.
Yeah.
Just to introduce a little bit of disruption here, because thinking out loud, what just you challenged, Martin, you challenged Mike about AI speaking volumes and no emotion, and then obviously Mike has presented examples where AI can be extremely emotional, and there are studies in healthcare journals, medical journals, that a number of participants in an experiment where they were interacting with a human doctor and a AI robot. So they, in the end, felt more understood, so more empathic responses from the AI robot rather than the human trained doctor, right? So and this is in Lancet, and there are journals that publish these results, right? Obviously, it does not mean that the doctor is a bad doctor, except that he was not trained to show empathic behavior, right? And AI can be trained to show empathic behavior because it operates by the cognitive feed of reading, right?
Yeah.
That's the challenge for you guys now. My question is really because we all know the emotional pleasure of arriving in a cold, rainy day, and we arrive home and we sit by a fireplace if we have, and drinking a hot cup tea. You know, the sensations of being invaded by the warmth of the water, and that all those channels feed our emotion of pleasure, right? Whereas AI relies exclusively on the cognitive feed of you reading something that AI is producing. Of course, that AI, and I think this is amazing characteristic of human beings, because by reading something, we can imagine the hot drink on our body sensation, right? So this is the kind of manipulative behavior that AI can trick us to feel emotional, whereas in the end it's just zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Besides a computer, it's zeros and ones. But the projection, you project yourself in that screen and you're feeling that you're talking to human, and how that compounds with group facilitation, Mike, because that's the challenge I like to hear from you as an expert and a facilitator. Could AI in the end trick us all and be the perfect group facilitator that will take the group to have all the ownership possible?
Well, hopefully not, just because of the same human thing that we don't want to be told by AI and driven by AI what to do. So if
but my correction, if AI is a truly good facilitator, she or he, I don't know, it will not lead you. It will be you get the ownership. It will be you be taking ownership on the process, right? Because AI will be learning from you, Mike. It will incorporate your models, your best practice in their models, and in the end, it will be the human would be owning the decision, right? So that's the challenge.
I do understand that, yes. So, well, to formulate what I think about it, it's well, we're trying to look into the future. So the nearest future that we can imagine is probably, yes, the AI that is well trained to build a very good scenario, very gently move people along with it, and again, very gently agree on the final solution, on the final decision. What will it be, and try to agree with people that they are willing to go and commit to it, which is probably doable because it requires a wealth of information and a wealth of understanding, but it is possible. But this is some short slot of possible future, because if we look into the a bit far beyond that, we will see that AI should probably evolve to become a personal assistant. So this is how, well, how, for example, Microsoft sees that AI is just living in your computer and understands everything that was happening before and can anticipate and suggest you what to do next. So if we imagine that AI becomes so personal that it just is a part of me, making me a superhuman, making my interests super pronounced and just always standing for my interests and considering them, then for that we will need to have another entity to facilitate a bunch of those augmented super people with their super pronounced interests. Well, you cannot delegate your own AI to bargain for your interest and then come and say, hey, we lost, you'll need to do more work in the future. So it's complicated. You don't want to blame artificial intelligence for what is happening with you. You don't want to get stuck with something that you will regret and you will have AI to blame for it, right? So it's, I don't know, this is part of human nature. You can, we are okay with blaming maybe people because people are people and we excuse them for being faulty. Maybe a facilitator had a bad day, so I have a bad day too. I can understand that. I can relate, but I don't want to be blaming bad AI or cheap AI or whatever to well for suffering that I will endure in the future.
Yeah. Is it realistic, just to push back a little on your supposition, Paul? Is it really realistic to think that AI could act in a facilitative role in the way that people do? It's the interaction, it's the process. It's not the words on the screen. It's the idea of developing the interactive processes that make facilitation what it is. Is it realistic that AI could execute that?
Martin, I'm going to tell you something that is going probably to shock you, not Mike, but I think AI can be even more perfect than a human because of what we just started the conversation with, impartiality and neutrality, right? Obviously, it will require an extremely talented company, you know, and lots of human knowledge to create that kind of model. Right. I mean, that model will have to learn from renowned facilitators like Mike and others, right? And Michael Wilkinson and others. And but mathematically speaking, and even though everybody says it's a black box what's happened inside the AI, but in the limits, Martin, AI can be trained to learn and acquire more knowledge than a human brain. And that's daunting.
But I think that's slightly missing my point. So my question isn't about the technical capabilities or the technical potential of AI. My question is more about the practical interface of AI. If I don't switch on my screen, okay, AI is dead. If I don't switch on my earphones, AI is dead. If I knock on somebody's door and I walk into their room and I say, guys, we've got a meeting down in the boardroom in 15 minutes. And I've got Mike Rossius is coming in to help us with our discussion for the next 2 hours. Well, do you know what? If I invite people to come down to the boardroom, they're likely to come down. If my screen isn't switched on, AI can't get to me. AI can't knock on my door. So that's my question. My question is more about not the technical capabilities of AI. My question is about the practical interaction of AI with the facilitative process. How realistic is it that AI can become a facilitator in that sense?
If you permit, Martin, I'll just reverse your question because it's about how committed people are to work with AI. If you imagine us three, we got invited to be facilitated by AI. We are committed. We are interested. We will go through this process. We will be helpful and will be, positive about it, and everything will be good. So you can easily imagine how AI will be very successful in facilitating our work. Well, maybe not, but it's possible. But in your case, so when you need to go to the boardroom, that's obviously people who have resistance, and we worked with those. We will have experience of working with this, and yes, we can imagine that there is an additional point of resistance. So I don't want to be facilitated by AI. That's again, this is not manageable. You cannot do much about it. So you can imagine that there can be a company that will just put it as its corporate rule that we have an AI facilitator. If you don't like it, you don't go away. So we will do without you. All our processes will be facilitated by AI from now on. It's absolutely possible, unfortunately. So, I mean, unfortunately for us, maybe very good for a company. Unfortunately,
well, I can argue against my own question that people either don't show up to the boardroom, or yes, they show up, but they just don't engage with Mike Rossius. They just don't engage, and we can't force that. So, like I take the point, and I think it's probably a neat place for us to conclude, because I'm just keeping an eye on our time. We've been discussing now for 45 minutes, believe it or not, Mike.
Oh my God.
And we normally we limit ourselves to about
52 minutes. 52. Yeah, we have to wrap up.
So it's a fascinating conversation, but we've come full circle in that at the core driver of this is not AI, it's people. People make choices, and then people own those choices. So if I may, Paul, I might try and do my quick summary. So one of the features here is I tried to do a 1 minute or minute and a half summary of just some of the key points that we got through in our discussion. But really interesting, at the very start, Paul put up a graphic for us. And as I scanned the graphic, 3 things jumped out from it. The idea of being process driven, the idea of being interest-based, and the key idea of ownership. And I'll come back to the ownership piece at the very end of our summary. But the idea of facilitation is building scenarios that people can engage. And it's with a view to the facilitator bringing their impartiality, their independence, so that the participants, unimpeded, uninhibited, can bring their self-interests. And I don't mean selfish interests, I mean whatever was their innate interests, bring them to the surface, either personally that they may not have been aware of, or collectively to bring them before the group that they're discussing. And then your proposition, Mike, is that the process is then managed so that people can flesh them out and distill them down into a final decision that the group can own. And that we're back to this concept of ownership. So creating that sharing environment is central to the facilitator's function. But then I posed the question about AI. So where does AI fit into that? And one of the key aspects, I guess, of AI is the whole volume that AI can bring. And it can bring it without fatigue. There is no time limit. There is no fatigue limit. It doesn't need to stop for the coffee break. It can it can flood the zone, to use a current expression from the political sphere. But Mike, you then raised an idea that in the sessions, because this was part of my query to you, is how does AI practically come into our facilitated sessions? And you suggested there are 2 key ways. Either participants can engage with AI themselves during our facilitated conversation, or AI itself can be a participant. So managing that whole volume of participation from humans and AI becomes a key requirement of the facilitator. The AI, that posed a next possible question for us. Could AI be the facilitator? And if it is the facilitator, how might it build scenarios? How might it flesh out or help people flesh out conversation and ultimately bring it down to decision making? Our proposition, Paul suggested that AI has the technical capabilities to outperform humans. My proposition back was, but what about the practical interactions? And your counter proposition effectively, Mike, to both of us was, yeah, but at the end of the day, if people own the process, then people will decide the extent to which they bring AI into the process and choose to engage with the process.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Yes, dear viewers, thank you so much for this, Martin. It's amazing how we can encapsulate in the final minutes the all of an interesting and in-depth conversation with Mike.
Really interesting.
Thank you, Martin, for this brilliant summary. Thank you so much, Mike, to share your views and your expertise with us. I learned a lot from this conversation, and I hope dear viewers, you have enjoyed this conversation as well. And that's all for today, episode 56. Stay tuned as we are going to surprise you with upcoming episodes. And now that we are going to arrive to 2026. Oh my God.
Time flies.
Can you
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure, Mike. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Good to be here with all of you. Bye. Okay.